Okay, good morning. This is the time and place for the zoning case hearing for October 3rd, 2012. My name is Vilya Zamataitis, and I will be the planning hearing officer for today's hearing. We have one case on today's agenda, and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Today's case involves a conditional use permit under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code. A conditional use permit shall be granted if four required findings are made. They are: 1, that the proposed use will be consistent with the elements and objectives of the general plan; 2, that the use and its associated structures and facilities will not be detrimental to the public health or safety, the general welfare, or the environment; 3, that the use of facilities will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of surrounding property; and 4, that adequate public and private facilities such as utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures are or will be provided for the proposed use. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, the planning hearing officer can then either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request must be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to all property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read the description of the application and request. I will then read the reports received from the city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. The case planner will then make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a recommendation. And the applicant will be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time period. Others in support or in opposition of the application and all interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address for the record, and they will be given 3 minutes. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to the testimonies given by the preceding speakers. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be presented and prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their names and mailing addresses. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeals provisions of the Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the decision date. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and procedures from the Building and Safety Section, Permit Services Center, located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to Vista right here. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the planning hearing officer hearing are recorded on tape as part of the public record. Okay, so we come now to the agenda item, and this would be a conditional use permit number PCUP 1217744 for a project located at 120 through 1236 Carlton Drive, and this would be the St. Mary's Richard Tufikian Preschool and Daycare, and the applicant is Mr. Rodney Kahn. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the continued operation of an established daycare center and kindergarten school located at 1200 through 1236 Carlton Drive in the R2250 medium density residential zone. Okay, upon reviewing the comments from other departments, there were no significant issues. The one comment that came to light would be in regards to the street trees from maintenance services, and I will allow staff to go ahead and go into that with greater detail, but other than that, there were no other significant comments. So at this point in time, I'd like to turn the hearing over to Mr. Begdikian for the case presentation.
Ms. Zamataitis, this conditional use permit is a renewal of an existing conditional use permit that was in turn renewed in 2005 with a slight expansion, and let me explain. The site is developed with a private school and daycare facility. In 2005, the conditional use permit was requested to extend the entitlement and to enlarge the property in order to provide additional parking, surface parking, for the use. And the use was not proposed to be intensified at the time. So the current proposal is a renewal of that conditional use permit, which is about to expire. There's no proposed expansion of the use, and staff has reviewed this proposal, and staff thinks the findings for it can be made. The land use is consistent with the general plan land use element, which designates the site for medium density residential use. Also, it appears that traffic and circulation has improved around the site with the expansion of the parking facility, which provided for more on-site parking as well as an area for drop-off and pickup of the children. Based on this, it appears that the findings can be made. Staff's recommendation is for approval with a number of conditions, and let me explain where the conditions are coming from. Conditions 1 and 2 are standard that specify that the use has to be performed and the site used per the proposal. Condition 3, it seems there is an unpermitted fence along Carlton, and Condition 3 requests that this fence the addition be removed, the unpermitted addition. Condition 4, it appears that the parking striping is faded, and Condition 4 requires that the striping be refreshed. And Condition 5 relates to the street tree requirement, and this is to beef up some of the landscaping that has deteriorated over time. Condition 5 specifies 5 street trees to be planted. The clarification or the addition that we got from the Public Works Maintenance Service Division yesterday was a standard addition in terms of the process for the applicant to follow for the planting of these trees, and it requests that the applicant contact the Public Works Maintenance Services Department prior to the planting so that any underground utilities or obstructions can be verified and the trees can be planted in the proper locations. So it's a procedural thing. The remaining conditions, except for the last one, are carried over from the 2005 conditional use permit, which relate to the operation and the ongoing performance of the school. And the last condition sets a new expiration date, and the blank will be filled out if the hearing officer approves this conditional use permit, and the date will be based on the approval date. And it would grant a 10-year extension to the conditional use permit. One request that came yesterday from the applicant is regarding conditions 3, 4, and 5 related to the removal of the unpermitted fence, the refreshing of the parking striping, and the planting of the street trees. The staff report specifies a 2-month time frame. The applicant is requesting 6 months to perform this, and staff thinks this request can be granted. And in terms of completing these 3 conditions, staff is asking for a photographic documentation when these are accomplished.
Okay.
And this wraps up my presentation, unless there are questions from the hearing officer.
No, thank you very much. I'd like to call Mr. Rodney Kahn to the podium, please.
Good morning, Mrs. Zimatitis and city staff. My name is Rodney Kahn. My offices are located at 1111 North Brand Boulevard, Suite 403, here in the beautiful city of Glendale. In terms of adding to Mr. Bagdikian's presentation, the St. Mary's Richard Tufankian Preschool and Daycare was established in 1975. So that was some 37 years ago. From the beginning, the preschool and daycare has created a nurturing environment which encourages its students to achieve their personal and academic goals and respect their parents, their teachers, each other, and the surrounding environment. As Mr. Bedikian pointed out, this is a renewal to the existing conditional use permit. There are no modifications that we're requesting. There's no increase in the number of students, faculty, etc. It's to move forward this important school so that it can continue to operate. The preschool is open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday it's closed. As mentioned, there are 180 children which attend the Tufankian School, and they range in age from 3 years old up to 6 years old. I'll briefly touch on the findings and then talk a little bit about the conditions. And then if you have questions, obviously, I'd be happy to answer them. In terms of the various elements and objectives of the general plan, as seen in the site plan that's been provided, along with the location map, our site is on Chevy Chase. It has about 90 feet of frontage along Chevy Chase and about 450 feet of frontage along Carlton Drive. The land use element designates this site for medium-density residential uses where churches, private educational institutions, and daycare centers are conditionally allowed. Thus, we are here today. The circulation element identifies Chevy Chase Drive as a minor arterial and Carlton Drive as a local street. Both streets are adequate to carry the traffic that our facility generates. The Tufankian Preschool and Daycare has built up and established a strong student base, is very well respected in the academic community. In fact, the preschool and its reputation is a fully accredited institution with the National Academy for Education of Young Children. The second, in terms of not being detrimental to the public health or safety, general welfare, or the environment. I mentioned that it's been in operation since 1975. There were 27 conditions of approval that have been fulfilled over the years. We will continue to do this with the conditions of approval that are being suggested by Mr. Bagdikian. There was in the previous conditional use permit something that I think that is important to address in terms of the adjacent uses and the operation in general. There was a traffic circulation plan. And during the discussion, it was talked about how would the school educate the parents and what types of activities would take place to make sure that the surrounding neighborhood was not impacted. And I'm going to give you some handouts or souvenirs that show specifically that each parent at the beginning of the school year is given a safety handbook that talks about child pickup and drop-off. It also talks about other safety issues as well. Along with that, throughout the year, is provided on a regular basis or a monthly basis what is considered handouts and items, which I'll hand to you. But in general, it talks about loading, parking, and safety. Just a couple of the items I'll read. First, it states very specifically for the parents to please pay attention and honor the City of Glendale traffic rules around the school, always. They talk about please following the security guard. There's security guards out there, there's teachers out there, there's parents out there, both at pickup and at drop-off time to assist with the children coming and going. Have good relations with the neighbors. It's important for the school. Therefore, please do not block or turn around on their properties. And when entering the school's parking lot, please drive at a safe miles. There's also some other information that I'll give you as well. But from the beginning of the school year, throughout the school year, and at the end of the school year, it's always emphasized to the parents, pick up, drop off, and the traffic management plan, which you'll see is provided as well. So it's taken very seriously, and it's been instituted very well. And I think that's why you're seeing here today, one, we have no opposition from the neighborhood, and two, that we have a lot of support both from the parents and people that surround or that are participating in the school itself. So I'll give you these for your record.
Thank you.
As Mr. Bigdikian also pointed out, our conditional use permit that currently is in effect is set to expire in December of this year, and that's why we're here today to ask for this extension. Lastly, as it relates to public and private facilities, such as utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures, currently on the site, as you know, we already have water, electrical, gas, sewer, telephone, and cable. Additional parking, as mentioned, has already been provided when the parking lot was expanded back in 2005. And back in 2005, there were other improvements that were done as well. There were landscaping, walls, trash enclosure, security fencing, and lighting that were also installed. By adding that additional parking, both for the teachers, also the administration, and also a location for the parents to pick up and drop off their kids on site as well, has greatly benefited that surrounding neighborhood. This renewal will be consistent with the goals and the policies of the community facilities element that emphasizes the importance of education and recreation at private educational institutions and daycare facilities throughout the city of Glendale. A couple items as it relates to the conditions of approval, and I think Mr. Bagdikian touched upon it nicely. We went through the conditions. We agree to comply with all of them. I did request Mr. Bagdikian to allow for items 3, 4, and 5 to extend out to 6 months, and for really a couple different reasons. One is in terms of coordination. As you can imagine, a lot of these improvements or modifications need to be done when the children are not in school, and that's typically on the weekends, and having to coordinate that may be a little tough in terms of a 2-month time frame. Thus, the reason to request the 6 months. All the rest of them seem very straightforward that we can comply with. I'll conclude my remarks. If you have questions, I'll be happy to provide answers.
Thank you very much. You've actually answered a number of my questions, and so that was primarily in response or in regards to the circulation, because when I was out there at the site, I noticed the 3-minute loading and unloading,
Sure.
drop-off. Actually, I visited the site on a day when there was street cleaning on the opposite end of, so there was wide open space along the opposite side of the street. However, I could imagine, since it's a narrower street and it's also a very long block phrase from Chevy Chase to Adams, there would be quite a bit of parking. But it seems like all of my concerns have been addressed in the handouts, and if the parents are actually following the recommendations, then I have not heard of any opposition or any concerns from the neighborhood with
Okay.
regards to the traffic and circulation.
And that's a credit to the school and then the way they're implementing this as well.
Exactly. So,
Great.
okay, thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
I have 2 other speaker cards. One, Marina Manukian, please, if you don't mind stepping forward, and your name and address for the record.
My name is Marina Manukian. My address is 3023 Emerald Isle Drive in Glendale. I am the chairperson of the school board, and both my kids have attended the school. I'm here to speak in favor of approval of the CUP. The school has been around for 37 years. It's a wonderful preschool, and it provides a great service to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Ms. Arsene Agazarian?
Good morning. My name is Arsene Agazarian. I'm the director of the preschool. The address is 2917 Sycamore Avenue, La Crescenta. I've been the director of the preschool for over 20 years now, and so I've been in the process of the first process of the parking structure that we had. We are a nonprofit school, and we've been accredited since 1999 through the National Association of Education of Young Children, which is a very large association that accredits all the preschoolers around the United States. And actually, we are one of the few schools in Glendale, I would probably say 3 or 4 schools in entire Glendale, La Crescenta, or La Cañada have been accredited through this organization. So we're very proud of that accreditation since 1999. And we have a very large waiting list, and every year we turn around, reject many families we aren't able to serve. So I'm here to basically ask the planning commission to approve our, and so we can continue with our great work.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I have no further questions,
Oh,
actually. Is there anyone else in the audience, since I do see a number of other faces in the audience who might wish to speak? None at this time, none present. So, all right, with that said, I will take the matter under consideration. Yes. Mr. Badikian, yes.
One little clarification, please. As Mr. Khan explained, the prior conditions, they are still being observed. But I would like to clarify that the prior conditions, because the site at the time was being expanded to expand the parking facility, at that location there was a building that was going to be demolished. So the conditions that were imposed at the time related to removing the utilities associated with that building. So conditions like that were one-time conditions were not incorporated in the new conditional use permit. So only conditions that relate to the ongoing operation or the ongoing performance of the school were carried over into the new conditional use permit. So just one little piece of clarification.
Okay, yes, Mr. Khan.
Because that building has been demolished, has been gone already, and utilities have been addressed, so those conditions don't apply anymore.
Right. And we understand that, Mr. Begdikian. We appreciate that. The last thing I wanted to add, there are a number of people in the audience, and at this time are choosing not to speak. We appreciate them coming out. Many of them are parents at the school and taking the time to come out this morning. And the last thing I want to echo is what Mrs. Manukian said. We're very fortunate to have this school in our community. It's a very important school to us, so we would ask that you see fit to grant this request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the hearing is now officially closed. Thank you very much for attending, and a decision letter will be sent out shortly.